Hi guys, I'm Elisa at Remote Cottage Homesteading, the small space homesteading channel. Today I'm talking about chicks and when they're big enough to let into the coop with the rest of the birds. Now there's different scenarios. If the chicks have a mother hen, so a broody hen has raised them, then sometimes they'll already be in with the rest of the birds. But this really depends on the mother and the rest of the flock and how much space you have, so there's many considerations that you need to take into account. If you do want to have your broody hens hatching out eggs with the rest of the flock, the things you need to take into consideration is the amount of space that will be there for the birds so that the mother hen can take her little chicks away from the rest of the flock safely, where no predators are going to get them, where they're not going to get stood on by the other birds. If there's not enough space, then they might get stood on or harassed by the other birds. The more space you have, the better it is. Obviously there's different predators for little chicks than there are big, fully grown hens. Little chicks can be taken by crows, eagles, all sorts of things, and so you need extra security for them. So that's another consideration if you want them free ranging in the yard. A really good mother hen will protect her chicks from crows generally if she can. They're a lot better than the ducks and the geese. The geese can get tricked and you'll have a few crows working together and they'll surround the babies who will all stand in the middle, and all the geese, including uncles and aunties, will be hissing at the different crows, and then one will just swoop down in the middle and steal the gosling. Whereas with the chicken, even a small little bantam chicken, she'll just put her feathers like this and all the little chicks run under her, and that's the end of it. Then they're safe. So a good mother hen can protect her birds a lot better. Another consideration is the rest of the flock, and if you have any bullies in that flock. Sometimes you get bully chickens, and if there's not enough space, that can be magnified. But if you do have space and you still have a bully, you may consider sorting that issue out, or if you can't, then you will have to separate the other little chicks with their mother away from the bully birds. Also, are the rest of the flock used to having little chicks around? If they're not, then they may think it's a frog or a mouse, and they eat those things. So they may just want to gobble it up. So if they're used to having chicks around and they understand that they are chicks and not mice or frogs or something delicious to eat, then that's another thing you need to work out and keep an eye on to see what's happening if you are introducing little chicks into your flock. Because chicks are small, they have a lot of different dangers that the big chickens just don't have. Things like drowning in water bowls, so you want to make sure you have shallow water bowls with stones in the bottom so that they can get in and out if they need to and they're not going to drown. You need to consider things like star picket holes that have been left in the ground, and a little chick could just fall into that deep at the bottom of the hole, and if you don't hear it chirping, then you won't know to come and rescue it with a pair of kitchen tongs. So they're things that you need to look around the coop and see if there are little hazards and dangers. Because they're small, they can also get out of fencing that the bigger chickens can get out of. And if they're on the other side of the fence, their mum can't protect them and predators can come in and steal them. There's different food requirements when you've got the little chicks. You do not want them having layer pellets. It can deform their growth and it's really not good for them. So do not let them have that at all. So you really need to feed them separately. And you also don't want your laying flock eating the starter mix because it's medicated and you can't eat the eggs if the chickens are eating that. So it's safe for the broody mother or the mother hen to have the starter mix because she's not laying eggs. She's busy raising her babies. So that's not a problem. But the rest of the flock, they could still be laying eggs. So you do not want them eating the starter chick, like the chick starter. Obviously in a backyard situation we have less space to be letting our chickens roam free and hatching eggs out wherever they want. So it's a good idea to have cages, like decent sized cages, where the mother can be in to raise her chickens for the first few weeks at least. This can be in the coop area with the rest of the birds, so the little chicks are getting used to the bigger birds, but they're protected by the cage and the predators. And you've got control over the food that they're eating. I usually start letting them out by about 3 or 4 weeks with the mother, but supervised so that I'm around. I'm not out, I'm not taking a shower, I need to be able to run out if anything happens. So if a crow comes, I'll hear the mum getting quite upset and I can go out and sort the situation out and give her a hand. Or if any other birds start being a problem, I'm out there, I'm supervising and watching what's happening, and I'm getting an idea of how the flock's coping. And then I can lock the birds up after a couple of hours or when it's time for the birds to be locked up. So initially I'll probably let them out for an hour, then it'll increase, and then as I get my confidence up and I know how they're all handling the situations, and then I know they're safe, then it is a lot longer, and then it's full time, and then the door's open, they can run back in the cage if they want, and they've got the mother bird with them, and they can do what they want with the rest of the flock. And I've still usually got control of their eating at that stage because I feed them before they come out of the cage in the morning. And I can also leave the cage open only enough for the little chicks to get in so the mother doesn't get in, and that way none of the big birds can get into the cage where the chick starter food is. So they've still got access to their food, but she's got food on the outside. But I also make sure the chicks are not eating the layer pellets, which I talked about before. So there's a little bit of juggling around that you need to do if you're letting them out and free ranging with the other chicks or chickens. So if all the considerations are taken into account and you have a good mother and they're safe from predators and they can't escape where the area that they're in, then they're usually by 6 to 8 weeks, they're fine to be free range in the yard with the mother. These chicks are a couple of days old and they were from the incubator, and I don't have a broody hen. Usually I'd try and put them under a broody hen at night if I had one, but I don't. Only ducks that are broody, and that doesn't work because a duck will go swimming and the chicks will follow mum, and that's the end of the chicks because they will drown. They don't know how to swim, they can't swim, and so that doesn't work. However, chickens can raise ducks perfectly fine. They're great mothers for ducks, but it doesn't work the other way around, so just don't try that. Obviously there's more considerations to take into account when you have chicks that don't have a mother, because they don't have a chicken to protect them from the predators and to introduce them to the rest of the flock or protect them from the other birds and just generally keep them warm and safe. Chicks without a mother need artificial heating because they don't have the mum to keep them warm, so you can't just put them out in a cage and let them be in the cage safe from predators and have the right food and be introduced to the other chicks through the wire and all of that sort of stuff that you would do with a broody hen or a mother hen. You don't have that, so they need the artificial heating, and how long they need that artificial heating depends on the ambient temperature at the time of year it is, how many birds you have in your flock, because the more birds, they keep each other warm. If there's only a couple of birds, then they're going to need more of the artificial heating for longer. The size of the brooder area that you have your chicks in, as well as the breed of your chickens. They're all things to take into account and how long they're going to need heat for. In summer, Sussex and Australorps, as well as Kookamarans, it can be 3 weeks under the heat. In the cooler weather, it can be 6 to 8 weeks until they've got enough feathers to keep themselves warm. I like my little chicks to have outside time so they can get used to all the different sounds and noises and get used to the other birds and have them getting used to them. But they also need to be protected from the predators. I only have my little chicks out here when it's warm enough, when I'm supervising, when they've got shade, because they need to have enough shade as well because it gets quite warm. But if it gets cool, then they have to go back inside under the brooder lamp, which is the artificial hen, which is fantastic to keep them nice and warm. They also get a bit of vitamin D this way too, and I think that's really good for their bone health. Once they no longer need the heat, then they can be in a cage during the day outside, and if the nights are mild and warm, then I'll let them stay out there the whole time. It's a lot better that way because then they're not smelling out the house. Even with clean litter, it only takes 1 day with little chicks for them to start smelling like you've got birds in the house. I do similar things with these birds. Once they're big enough and they're able to be with the other birds, it's usually a little bit longer than when they have a mother. So they have access to the outside area, the free range area. They don't have access to the other chicken food, and they can get back in their cage at any time to get their food, but no big chickens are getting in and stealing their food. So it's all very similar. You also have to make sure you don't have any deep water bowls. I find The big pools that have the duck water in them is okay. The chickens don't seem to go in there, but I would keep it away from their immediate area where they are, because until they're bigger and they're able to go further away, then they can worry about bigger hazards like a big swimming pool for the ducks. I've never had a teenage chicken try and get into the duck water where the duck swims, but it probably could happen. So that's why I have the duck pools where they're swimming away from where the cage is, where I have the babies. Because once they're big enough to roam far away from where their initial area is, then they should have a bit more sense. There's not really an age where you can say, yes, you're right to go out. It really depends on so many different variables, so it's not a straightforward answer. And it can even depend on the personality of the chickens. Some are smarter than others, let's just say. They're not all created equally, and some just take a little bit longer to get their sense. The main thing is we want them to be safe, we want them to be healthy, and we want them to be happy. So if we take all these things into consideration and we can work out what's best for our flock, every flock is going to be different. We're all going to have different circumstances and situations, and I've only named the ones that I come across here. And I know there's plenty more. Spend some time with your chickens and your ducks if you've got ducks, and enjoy their company. Let me know in the comments below what chicken breeds you have, or what your favourite chicken breed is. And I'd love to hear about your chickens. If you'd like to see some more videos on my ducks or chickens, or just what we're doing on our small space homestead, then check out some of my other videos. And if you'd like to learn more about small space homesteading or see what we're doing on our small space homestead, then subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.